welcome back to a new video. Today I've got something I've been working on for quite a long time I'd like to share with you. This is my attempt at improving slash kit bashing the new Norn Emissary kit. This is something I basically thought of immediately upon seeing it, and it's just taken this long to work through that idea and manifest it here for you guys. So if you can't tell, this is mostly taking the now discontinued Dimachron kit, which was a Forge World Tyranid kit, one of their bigger ones, and smashing it together with the Norn Emissary kit to create two, in my opinion, more interesting and more unique big Tyranid beasties for your army. Now, before I get too into this video and the nitty-gritty of everything, I'd like to, as always, do a little size comparison just to show you guys how big these guys ended up turning out. So as you can see beside them, we've got a couple standard termagants. These are your basic infantry-sized Tyranids, and as you can see, they're absolutely dwarfed by these guys. Basically, by the end of this, they do both end up a fair bit bigger than the original Norn Emissary. Particularly, this guy is quite a lot taller. But I would argue that this guy is actually quite a lot bulkier and longer as well, with that super long tail from the Dimachron. So a little better. Sorry for the shaky cam there. I don't know what's going on with my arm. Little better size comparison here. So we've got the new winged Tyranid Prime. And pretty small next to him. We have a mostly normal Swarm Lord. I didn't change him too much. Made his base a bit bigger and stuff. Absolutely towering over that guy. That was one of the big complaints, was that the Norn Emissary basically just looks like a bigger Hive Tyrant, and like not even that much bigger. Like maybe 30% bigger Hive Tyrant. Like if you're gonna give us bigger Hive Tyrant, make it like, Imperial Knight sized. And then this was one I thought was funny because I remember them saying at some point in like the promotional stuff for these guys, like, oh, this is the biggest Tyranid we've ever made. These are the biggest plastic ones we've ever had. Well, here it is next to my Tyranofex. And I would argue that, I gotta move some of these out of the way. I would argue that the Tyranofex, there's the side view of them, is very comparable in size. Like the only thing that's changed on this is I changed the pose to make it taller. I broke the legs and straightened them out. So mass wise, I would say this guy actually even might be a little bit bigger or pretty similar. Don't forget, this guy is taller and bigger thanks to the extra parts being used. So I just thought that was funny that they were going on about how massive this thing was, and I'm like, is it really that massive though? Is it really? But anyways, I mean, they look really cool together, and that's all that matters, right? So the main thing with any project like this is always going to be planning, planning, planning. So these in particular, I'm just going to start with the Emissary here because I did end up making that one first. It was very crucial to really figure out how each part of each kit was going to be used, because the intent, as always, when I try to do this with a lot of my conversions. I like to, if I'm taking two kits and smashing them together and I'm using the majority of the kit, I really like it when I can end up with still two models. You know what I mean? Like, it sucks to have to buy two expensive models and then fully just turn them into one. If you can take two models, take some parts from both, and then maybe a few extra parts from other things, and end up still with two cool models, I really enjoy that, and it's a really good mental challenge to figure out how you're going to accomplish that. So I should have most of the footage and videos from how this was done popping up. But basically, so throughout the planning, I was sketching over top of some silhouetted images of a Dimachron, figuring out where the parts were going to go on that. I had drew up some little doodles and things. And I basically come to the conclusion that for the Emissary one, because I wanted to have an Emissary and an Assimilator, he is much less melee oriented. So I said, okay, well, the Emissary talons are a lot less impressive than the Dimacheron ones. So right there, he can have the smaller talons. He's then meant to have arms, like rending claws. And the rending claws from the emissary, while cool, are very small for such a big creature. I don't know if I have a picture of them side by side with the Dimacheron arms, but the Dimacheron arms are way bigger, and I think that I actually like the look of them better, except for one flaw, which is the claws. So I had to green stuff claws onto both of these bad boys because the Dimacheron ones look awful. Like they don't really have proper claws on the end of them, which was fine. It wasn't too bad. And then I gave him kind of like a Wolverine style claw here, which is from the talon of a hive guard, I believe. So I look at the differences between the two kits. So the Norn Emissary is supposed to have the psychic attacks. His claws are weaker. He has hands, and he's also supposed to be a little bit more armored. So I really kept that going through the design process. So that's why we've used the crown bit from the Norn Emissary, which has the exposed brain for the psychic powers. He also already has them, no matter what, in his back piece here. And I disliked all the random tentacles coming at the back, so I just went ahead and sculpted more brain on the back there, figuring that's where, some of his synapse and stuff can be coming out to coordinate with other Tyranids. I don't know if that really makes sense, but it made sense to me. So that wasn't too bad, fixing up the back end here. The Dimacheron head is obviously a lot bigger, so we had to chop basically the whole top of the head off to fit the crown on over top, with a little bit of green stuff sculpting in between. And then because this guy he seems more like the leader creature, I guess, of the two, as well as being the more armored one. I thought it would make sense to give him the bigger legs. The Dimacheron legs are a lot bigger and longer than the emissary ones, so he's got the longer legs. He has really, really thin hooves, though, so I just sculpted over the one side of each hoof to make it more in line with normal Tyranid feet, made it thicker, and then gave the little Tyranid talons on either side as well. I think that turned out not too bad. I also gave him a couple little extra armor pieces, which were from Hive Guard here. As you can see, there's actually a gap here still in his torso I have to fill, but I left that on purpose for painting. So it's just barely attached so that I can just pop them off and paint the top half and paint the bottom half separate. So I'll just fill that in whenever I'm getting further along in the painting process. So yeah, so like I said, it's very important to me when I'm doing these things that no parts are wasted and I still end up with a complete model, and also that all parts of the model that I'm kit bashing are represented. So like I said, for this guy, we need psychic powers, so we got that with the brain stuff. He's a little bit more armored, so he has the torso, especially for the emissary, he looks a lot more armored than the Dimacheron one. So the emissary here, he's got more armor, he's got the more armored torso. He's got a little bit extra armor on his arms. And in general, there's just no way that he would ever be mistaken for the emissary or for a different Tyranid beastie. So now we have the assimilator. So obviously the basic idea is that we're going to be using all of the parts not used for the emissary. So the assimilator is a lot less armored. He doesn't have the really good invuln save that the emissary does, but he's a lot better in melee. And he of course has those crazy tox injector harpoon attacks. So those are the things that we need to make sure we bring across with this model. So right off the bat, I knew I wanted, so obviously we're using the Dimacheron torso, the Dimacheron tail, and the Dimacheron main weapon arms. This is actually a Tyranifex head. The Norn Emissary head, which is one of the things that bothered me about it, is so freaking small that I don't feel like it fits these really big models. This head is the same size as a Hive Tyrant head, and it's very strange to me. So the things we needed to do with this guy. So we're obviously going to be using the assimilator harpoon arms as his lower arms, the Dimacheron arms for the big arms, and so the way I would think about it, or I thought about it, is so this guy when he fights in melee, he's got two different melee attacks. He's got his really big attacks and his smaller attacks. So the really big attacks to me will come from his really big claws. He's got some crazy big claws. The Dimacheron has some of the craziest scything talons of any Tyranid model ever. And then he's got some smaller melee attacks. And to me, I don't really see how his harpoon, because on the data sheet it's calling the harpoons, they have melee attacks as well, and those are actually the big attacks. That doesn't really make sense to me. The harpoons are guns. They harpoon something and drag it in. These guys, to me, are representing the big attacks, and then the smaller melee attacks are all of his various tendrils, his chest spine, and then, of course, his really impressive, big, crazy spiked tail. The Dimacheron, for anyone that didn't know, has literally by far the biggest and most imposing Tyranid tail of all of them. And it's something I really liked about the model. That was actually while I have some problems with it now, it was probably my favorite model back in the day with my old Tyranid army. I really, really liked it. I really liked that it squaring up to an Imperial Knight didn't look just awful. Ooh. So anyway, so the main challenges with this guy, and again, I should have everything playing up on the screen while I'm talking, was the getting rid of the Dimacheron hood, which one makes everything fit very strangely, and two, I just don't think looks very good. So we literally sawed that off and then just green stuff replaced the edge of it there. And then, so we're replacing the Dimacheron head with this Tyranifex head. We're making it really crazy with some extra tentacles and...
Whoa, hey there, it's Editing Zach. Those tentacles just so happen to be those pesky ones I chopped off the back of the emissary torso. Isn't that crazy that I forgot to say that in the actual video?
little grasping talons there. He's a simulator. He's assimilating. He's just friggin' running forward like crazy, devouring everybody. And then, so the chest spine, that's all normal. That's all standard to the Dimacheron kit. The other thing was that the arms for the harpoon launchers were very, very small as well. So I went ahead and replaced them with arms from the Tyranifex kit with the harpoon mounted on the end. So these are from the, I think it's the flesh borer arms that you need. And just chopped the end off basically, chopped off a couple extra little bits, and then put a rod through it and attached the harpoon launchers to it. So those turned out pretty alright, and I think they look a lot more appropriate for the size of this creature. I also wanted to make them taller because, again, the Norn Emissary legs are deceptively short. So I didn't use any extra parts here. I just cut it, put a rod through, and then green stuffed over top to make it taller. And you can imagine, like, look at how this guy looks now. His legs already don't look crazy tall. Imagine if that knee was just straight joined to that foot down at the bottom. He would look way too short. So that was another one of my issues with the original Norn Emissary kit. I think if I had to choose, I think I actually like this guy a little bit better. He's just more crazy looking. And yeah. So for me, I'm very happy with how they both turned out. I think they're both a worthy successor to the Dimacheron model, which, as I said, used to be one of my favorites despite some of its flaws, and a bit of an improvement over the Norn Emissary, which I think a lot of people, they like it and they like the idea of it, but they have a couple like complaints and issues and nitpicks. Obviously, my green stuffing is not perfect, and there's definitely a couple things I still need to like tweak before I go into the painting process and stuff. But this is the gist of it, and it more or less fulfills the image in my head of how I was going to do this, where I was going to take both kits and still end up with both kits. And now I have an assimilator and an emissary that are very distinctly different from each other. It's not just like an arm swap, which is basically what the normal assimilator and emissary situation is. I think these are both very different while still clearly showing like what they're supposed to be. There won't be any mix-ups on the battlefield with these. So yeah, if you like what you see and you want to support the channel and the pretty janky content that I make, feel free to check out the Patreon. I post all the work in progress stuff there early, including all of the stuff you were seeing in this video. It was all on there for the last couple weeks or months, so everybody was seeing the progress and how these things were coming along. I also sometimes like ask for video ideas or other things on there. And yeah, it's a good place to support the channel. And don't forget to check out our channel sponsor.
Whoa, isn't that crazy? It's me editing Zach again. I just can't stop forgetting things, guys. It's almost like I'm really fucking tired when I made this. But don't forget to check out our channel sponsor, Lord of Skulls. They have awesome kits for all your World Eaters needs. If you're a Chaos player, you definitely owe it to yourself to check them out, especially for their new Karn and World Eaters Chaos Spawn kits, which are just amazing. And I hopefully will have a review of those on the channel very soon.
Like and subscribe, all that normal YouTuber nonsense. I'll have lots more coming soon, and thanks for watching. Bye.